All right, folks, we're live. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me good. I've got this, I think I got this microphone just right. Let's see who all we got in there. All right. Yeah, we're trying to go to Omaha. We're getting close. We've got Cinderella. We got to go up against Evansville, obviously, that couldn't have worked out any better for Tennessee, honestly. That was what I was hoping would happen, that they would somehow upset East Carolina, which was a better team. Let's see here. Gosh, yeah. Let's see. Stingray. Getting closer, Stingray. Getting closer. Let's see who all we got in here. Got everybody. All right. I'm going to show y'all a few things. I haven't gotten a thumbs up from y'all yet. Make sure you can hear me good. Let's see. Anybody going to give me one of those? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. I'm assuming you can. That's the one thing about these one-sided deals. Okay, cool. Thanks, Stingray. All right, cool beans. Let's see. Let's get into the NCAA breakdown right now. Spend a moment with that. Take a little look-see. Oh, good grief. Commercials. All right. So, obviously, we're got Evansville today at 3 o'clock. And let's see, we'll play them today at 3 and then at 11 tomorrow. And the reason we got these, what I would call crappy tee times, is because people are not expecting this to be a big game or a great game. That's why the teams that have better matchups are going at Saturday and Sunday. And we got a 3 o'clock tee time on Friday, which is when everybody's working. But that was the good and the bad of it. You know, the good was you got the easier team to play against. You know, of course, I know they're hot right now, but they're nationally ranked about 76th, whereas we're ranked number 1. But when you get that easier matchup, it's not as big a game. So that has a lot to do with this. I'd say if we'd gotten East Carolina, we'd have been played in a better time. But it is what it is. The only thing that matters at this point is getting to Omaha. That's the only thing that matters when you're in one of these one and dones, which is I know this is double elimination. All you want to do is survive and advance. That's the only thing that matters. It doesn't matter how you get there, just survive and advance. But let's take a look at some of the others that are coming up today. Let's see, UConn and Florida State. Let's see. Oh, they've already played. It's noon. They're probably right in the middle of the game. I haven't checked that score. Then you've got Kansas State and Virginia. They're going to play at 7 o'clock tonight. I'd like to add that tee time. Virginia obviously favored in that. And then you got West Virginia and North Carolina. Boy, that North Carolina LSU was amazing. They took out the national champions from last year. And let's go over here to the other side and see what's going on. You got Texas A&M against Oregon. They're going to play at 2 o'clock. And let's see what else we got here. That would be on a Saturday, wouldn't it? Then you got Florida. You got Florida, man. They made it through the regional, and they were the number 3 seed. And they're going to play Clemson. Clemson was the number 1 seed, so that'll be a big game. Georgia, they were the number 1 seed. They got through, and they're going to play NC State. And then Kentucky, who's been great this year, they whooped up on their region, and they're going to play Oregon State. So I'd say those are the games they'll be focused on the most, if I had to guess, because that's where a lot of the eyeballs are going to be, so to speak. But anyway, I want to get into this, what people are predicting. So let me remove this, and I'm going to show you something I saw on X. And it's where a lot of these pros are predicting what's going to happen. Let's see here. Yeah, that's it right there. All right, in all these games, you can see these are what all the pros were suggesting would happen. Only one person picked the Aces over Tennessee. And then as you can see, everybody's picking Florida State with the exception of one pick for UConn. Virginia's heavily favored over Kansas State. North Carolina's heavily favored over West Virginia. Kentucky and Oregon State, more people are picking Oregon State. That surprises me. Georgia's only got 3 picks. Then you got Florida. Looks like people are leaning a little bit towards Clemson. And dadgum, Texas A&M, everybody thinks they're going to win. So I thought that'd be interesting to take a look at that, what the pros think. And we're going to take a look at who our starters are for Tennessee. Let's pull this up. Let me get rid of this here. And let's take a look at Tennessee's players today. I believe this fella right here, Chris Stamos, will be our starter today. That's what I saw on the layout. And let's see what his stats are. Chris Stamos. Let's see. He's got a 3.6 ERA. He's 3-0. So he's won a lot. Looks like he's done some middle relief pitching, if I had to guess. Yeah, 19 appearances. So he's done a lot of that. And he'll be on, Tennessee can go to numerous guys. I've noticed they do a lot where they'll pitch a guy 2 or 3 or 4 innings, et cetera. So Florida State's up 9-1. Okay. Well, that's who everybody thinks is going to win. Now let's take a look at our starters as far as, obviously we're going to be – oh, no, wait a minute. Let me go to – get up here to batting. Obviously, we're going to be looking at Christian Moore, obviously, will be our big hitter. But I tell you what, everybody down this list, they can all knock it out of the park without too much trouble. Of course, Moore's sitting there at 29 home runs, which is crazy. That's so good. A bunch of guys are on the verge of getting 20. And even our fella who's sitting down at one of our worst batting averages, who is our catcher, he hit 2 home runs in that last game. So he's up to 9 home runs. So Tennessee's just loaded everywhere you go, which doesn't surprise anybody. That's why they're number 1. And we've got plenty of pitching. Like I said, I'm not too concerned about who we put out there starting out because Vitella is not going to mess around. Now, I have not seen the starting lineup. I don't even know if Evansville's put their starting lineup out there. Now, I watched them against East Carolina. They're a scrappy group. They've got a bunch of fifth-year seniors, super seniors, which we're seeing a lot of that in college sports right now. This is the last year of the super seniors. And I think that's one of the reasons why Evansville's pretty good. They're not going to be nearly as talented as Tennessee, but they've got guys that have been there forever. Some of them are probably approaching Social Security. So they might not be as talented, but they're very experienced, and they'll probably handle themselves fine. Now, when they go out there, they're going to look, they're not going to look like the VOLS. The VOLS are going to look like guys that are in the major leagues. They're going to be all jacked up, look like they live in the gym. Evansville will not look that way. I watched them play East Carolina. They look like regular dudes. They look like baseball players that we're used to seeing in college. So they're not going to hit a ton of home runs. I certainly wouldn't expect them to hit a bunch on us. But the big thing about baseball is it's the most fickle. Yeah, me, drinker, you got that right. It is the most fickle sport there is. There's nothing anywhere that's close to it. Football, you can kind of know who's going to win. You have a pretty good idea. And with basketball, it's a fickle sport as well. You got to get hot, but you can kind of tell who's going to win before they tee it up. But baseball is another animal. I've never seen a sport more fickle, and you see that in the major leagues all the time. Any major league team can beat the crap out of any other one. And in college, it's not quite that way, but you can flat out look. Is it impossible that Evansville beats us? Absolutely not. It's not impossible. They could absolutely win this playoff. Now, I would put it at less than 10% chance, certainly, but we'll see. Yeah, I'm going to try to have a post-game show, Stingray, right after the game. I will, unless something comes up, which you never know in life, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise, so to speak. But I'm excited about. Look, this is as good an opportunity to get to Omaha as you're ever going to see. You've got the lowest ranked team against you, which is they're actually ranked number 16 out of the 16 remaining. We're ranked nationally number 1. They're 76th. It's probably gone up a little bit since then, but still, I mean, you couldn't ask for a better setup for us. And it's at home. You're over at Lindsey Nelson, and that stadium, even though it's at 3 o'clock, it will be packed. And it looks like the weather's great out there. I'm about 50 miles away over here in Pigeon Forge, but the weather's perfect here. It's sunny and gorgeous, so I'm assuming that's what's happening. Let's see. I think they're pitching a freshman. I'm pretty sure they are. And he throws it, I think I heard he throws it in the high 80s, low 90s, throws a lot of breaking balls. I believe he's a lefty. Let me pull that up and see exactly what the deal is with that. Remove. Let's see what this guy does. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, left-hander for sure. And I'm pretty sure this is the dude. And he's good. Look, this guy's good. He's, but he hadn't played a team like us either. And we saw that with the that last ball game we played. Who was it we beat? I'm drawing a blank for some reason. Somebody help me out here. Who did we play in that last game in the regionals? Can't believe I'm drawing a blank on this. Anyway, they put out their pitchers and they put out guys that are good. And that's all fine and well. But when you go up against our lineup, which is super deep, I mean, every single guy we've got can hurt you, and every one of them can knock it out of the park. It wasn't a matchup. No, it was not Mississippi. I'm talking about in the regionals. For some reason, I'm drawing a blank who we beat there at the end. Southern Miss. Golly. Yeah, they ran into a buzzsaw. And that can happen when you go up against the VOLS. It can be rough. It just can. So this, like I said, I don't know that we could have a better opportunity to go to Omaha. This will be great. And then look, once you get to Omaha, every team is great. Just might as well know that. So if you do get to Omaha, I still think we'll obviously have the highest probability, but it's not going to be like 50, 60, 70%. We'll probably be at like 20, 25%, and we will be the number one seed at that level. I mean, the other teams will be 15 and 12 and 18% and all that chance of winning. So let's see what y'all are saying out here. Yeah. Perfect weather. Let's see. Yes, we definitely, we got a whole lot better roster than they do, guys. Honestly, this is David versus Goliath. It really, there's a reason we're playing at 3 o'clock on a Friday and 11 a.m. I've never even heard of an 11 a.m. game. Have you? Have y'all ever heard of an 11 a.m. baseball game that wasn't like Little League? We got the two worst times. Well, that's exactly what he should say. Tony should definitely keep that motto. Do not take anything for granted. But the rankings do matter. I promise you, Evansville's going in there going, holy crap. Boys, this is something. But it's like the first time they've ever made it to the Supers, which is awesome. You love the Cinderella story. I enjoyed the pig pile they had after they beat East Carolina. That was awesome. You got to love the excitement and the Cinderella stories, and I always enjoy that in the NCAA basketball. Let's see, y'all got any questions out there? Let's see here. Should go into right? Yeah, you're right. Let's see if anybody's got some awesome comments I need to put up here. Let's see. Me doesn't want anybody taking this for granted. It does to a point. Good pitching does beat good hitting, but you still got to hit. That's the thing. You're not going to win a game if you don't score. So you've got to have the hitting as well. We've got both. Now, I believe one of our guys that we were hoping we'd get back, I can't remember his name. I should have written it down. Oh, I know there's one thing I want to talk to you guys about. I've had a bunch of you say that you're not getting my notifications on shows and stuff. And I think what it is, I've kind of investigated that. I think what it is, if you're getting notifications through your cell phone, your Android or your iPhone or whatever, you may not have YouTube notifications turned on. And what you do to do that, you've got a 4-step process. It's actually really simple, but you know, you got to go into settings, and that's that little round thing that looks like a hexagon looking deal. You know, y'all have all seen settings. I should have had a picture of it. And then you got to go into notifications. That's the second step. And it's a real simple, just boom, hit settings, then go into notifications. Then you've got to go into app notifications. Once you hit notifications, you'll have an opportunity to hit app notifications. As soon as you hit that, scroll down to the bottom to YouTube and just toggle it over. And then you'll get the YouTube notifications. So I believe that's what the problem is. Holy crap. Man, I appreciate that. $20. Said, are you working the third shift today? Well, I've already been out on the roads with my sling blade and I call it a Kaiser blade. Y'all may call it a sling blade. I've already done that this morning, and I'm off for the rest of the day. We try to do that in the morning, folks, because it's so hot. And, you know, you are allowed to have water. You just got to make sure the boss knows it. Otherwise, you know, he's holding that shotgun. Anything could happen. But I appreciate that, Jamie. That was very kind. Let's see. Vandy has 2 natties and World. Oh, somebody must be giving Vandy crap. You know, here's the thing about Vandy, and I don't know if I've ever told you folks this. I found out about this years ago. Vandy being a private school, even though they're in the SEC, y'all may or may not know this, but baseball teams have 11.7 scholarships that they can divvy out. And, you know, there's like 30 guys on the team. Now, because of that, that limits how many guys they can bring in that are big-time players. Vanderbilt did not have that issue. Vanderbilt could have 25 guys on the team, all 25 on a full ride. So they had sort of a special advantage for years. Now, that does not upset me, and here's why. Vanderbilt's playing in the SEC. Look what they have to go through with football. I mean, that's a very tough school to get in. It's actually a very good school. It's, you know, one of the most highly ranked ones. But they suffer a lot in football because of that, and also basketball. And if they had an advantage in baseball for a while, which they no longer will have now that we're going to the revenue sharing, that's okay with me. And I think that played a role in them winning national championships. I mean, they were great. Vanderbilt's been terrific in baseball for years and years and years. And they've won 2 national championships. And they were the team to beat for a while. I think with NIL, now that we've had NIL last couple of years, see, Tennessee can pay these guys pretty much. Well, they can do anything they want now because the NCAA got their butts kicked by, well, I wonder what school was that kicked their butt. And I wonder what YouTuber told you we were going to kick their butt. Up in Greenville, yeah, that judge told him, said, you're toast. First of all, I'm going to go ahead and give you the preliminary restraining order so you can't do a dadgum thing. So all your rules are nonsense right now, and you're going to lose the case. So now NCAA realized it, and now they're going to the pay for play deal. And revenue sharing of $20 million. $20 million will, and I know that sounds like a ton of money. It's honestly not. I mean, if you think about it, you've got 85 scholarship players on football. Then you've got 13 in basketball. Then you've got, 25 guys on the baseball team. And all 3 of those sports get money. Then you can have women's basketball. And those ladies, and Title IX, whoo, if that comes in like I think it will, that's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. So baseball's changing a lot, and it's for the better. I can tell you for Tennessee, it's for the betterment of Tennessee, because now we'll be able to directly compete with Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's not going to like it because now they're going to be on a level playing field. They'll still be good. You know, Vanderbilt's got a great tradition, but we can compete with anybody. Plus, we've got the best manager, best coach, and we're hot. You know, we're becoming a blue blood in baseball, I guess. I never have cared for that term. I'd rather not be a blue blood and come in and whoop up on them. But anyway, we're going to be terrific in baseball for a long time. I think they're trying to extend Tony's here. There he is, right there, that fella. They're going to be looking to extend his contract. I know they're working on it, and he'll get a nice big raise because he's taken Tennessee baseball to places it's never been. This is our fourth super regional in a row, I think. And if we make it to Omaha, I believe this will be 3 out of 4 years, which is really hard to do. And you think about 2022, that was the best baseball team I have ever seen in my lifetime. And I had a lot of people tell me that were baseball people that was absolutely the best team in the history of college baseball. I had a couple of guys that were big baseball players. One played for Auburn. And he told me, he said, I've never seen a team like that before. He said they were unbelievable. And they, that's the thing, though. They got beat by dadgum Notre Dame in that super regional. And that can happen. And Notre Dame was a pretty solid team, and they just had a lot of moxie and, wound up winning. That's why in the major leagues they do 4 out of 7. And they also do that with the basketball because they want the best team to win. And the more games you play, obviously that's going to play out that way more times. All right. So, 3 o'clock. Wait a minute. 3 o'clock is what time the game starts. So you've got 24 minutes. And I'm going to go a few more minutes here and talk a little bit more. But I'm going to let y'all off before we get this thing started. I wonder if Big Vol Daddy might be doing a live game coverage. And if some of y'all want to watch him, he usually does. One of y'all can tell me if he is, but he usually does. So you may want to check that out. I don't know if he's doing it today or not. Sometimes he's got things that get in the way. But anyway, there's just a lot going on with sports and baseball right now. And it should be, let's see. He might be. I could probably look on my phone. Well, I don't know if I could look it up or not. I probably spend so much time doing that. I'd run all y'all off in the meantime, and I don't want to do that. Let's see. Next year. Well, as far as sports are concerned, college sports, but, it's really not. It's not going to change that much because I think most of your big teams, they're already spending about $10 million. So to go to 20, and here's the other thing that I think is going to happen. First of all, they're going to increase the number of scholarships. That's the other thing I forgot to tell y'all. The $20 million revenue sharing, but they're also going to add scholarships. So it's actually about $30 million more they're going to spend for all the big-time schools like a Tennessee, Alabama, Ohio State, et cetera. So these baseball players, they're probably going to have more than 11.7 scholarships, but they'll also be getting cash or, they'll get a check. And the NIL, I believe the NIL will continue. And there may be a reason for that besides the fact that it gives you an advantage because you can spend the regular revenue money, but you can put NIL on top of that. So the big-time schools that are driving a lot of revenue and also have some big donors, you're probably going to see a lot of that. One thing that you may not see, though, a lot of these coaches' salaries, how they've been increasing super fast? They may not increase quite as fast anymore, and you may see some cuts in administration. You may see less assistant coaches. You may see less trainers and things like that because realize not every school has unlimited money. And when you go into a budget, and let's say the budget's $100 million or $150, and you pull $20 million out of that, understand every one of these schools is spending every dollar of that right now. So they've got tons of employees and, salaries and all that. When they pull $20 million off of that, something's got to give right there. Okay. So they've got to make some cuts. We may lose some sports. We may lose some non-revenue sports. It's hard to say. And then you've also got Title IX popping in there, and you got to be careful with that because the laws are they get equal treatment. So that has not been addressed in a lawsuit yet. It will be. You can count on that. And right now, if I was doing a regular video, I would put something really funny in here that would let you know that. But on live, it's a little different. Let's see. Tim Corbin. I don't think I know who Tim Corbin is. Who is Tim Corbin? Is he the Vanderbilt head coach? For baseball, I mean, I can tell you Vanderbilt's had a great baseball club. Man, they've been good. And I always root for them because they're SEC whenever, as long as they're not playing my VOLS. I always root like heck for them. I have a tendency to do that. Sometimes I'll go SEC depending on who they're playing. Unless, I don't know, it's Florida though, maybe not Florida. One day, if we'll beat them, I've already said this, if we will beat Florida in football 9 out of 10 times, I will let my grudge go against Florida. It takes 9. We don't have to win all 10. 9 out of 10, I will let it go. So we'd have to win the next 8 in a row because we won 2 years ago, lost last year. Got to win this year. We've got them coming to Neyland. We've got Nico. They've got Graham Mertz, who's coming off a shoulder injury. And I'm sure, did y'all see him get hurt in that ball game last year? That was tough. I tell you, that Graham Mertz is no joke. He's a good quarterback. I was wrong about him. So let's see. I've got to win 8 in a row, which would be 9 out of 10, and then I'll let it go. Other than that, no, there'll be no letting it go. Let's see. Really, this is interesting. It says Vanderbilt split their baseball NIL money equally. Perhaps this is why some of their better players left this past year. That's certainly possible. Yeah, I could see that. That's a charming and cute way to do it. That's not the best way. Normally, the better players should be getting more money if you want the best players. You can't, and here's the thing, in sports, you can't be worrying about somebody's feelings who's batting 250 and you got a guy batting 370. You need to be worrying about the feelings of the guy that's hitting 370 if you want to win. That may not be a popular opinion, but it's the truth. Let's see. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, that Vanderbilt, they beat them, 2 years ago too, didn't they? That was a devastating loss for Billy Napier. That was awful. And that was the same year that Vanderbilt beat Kentucky the week prior. And they came into the Tennessee game. We were actually going down there, which is really home court advantage for us. And we had Joe Milton because Hendon had gotten hurt. And we beat them like 53-0 or something. It was awful. And it was pouring down rain and windy, and we just ran all over them. We were angry. We were very angry after losing that South Carolina game. And I've still not given up on finding out if they had our signs back in 2022 when they magically beat us with 9 straight touchdowns, and then they magically beat Clemson, 2 top 10 teams that happened to be the 2 teams that were in the way of Michigan in the event that Michigan lost to Ohio State. And then we find out through footballscoop.com that a person with direct knowledge said they may very well have reached out to a couple of teams with their signs in order to help them make sure they get to the playoff. We'll see. It was also unique and interesting that Shane Beamer had been fined $25,000 for accepting information as an assistant coach. So we know he's willing. Now, this is alleged. I can't prove this, but the NCAA is trying to find out. And Jim Harbaugh has already run off. He was ski-daddled. And right now I'd be putting my Brave Sir Robin video clip. And then Connor, of course, has resigned and will not talk. He's not going to cooperate on any level. And then Shane's over there on the hot seat. So it is possible that by the time we get this NCAA thing, all 3 of them are gone, which would be pretty typical. That's the thing about sports. You know, it changes a lot. So hopefully we find out something on that. But it is interesting to me that South Carolina, after beating 2 top 10 teams, magically, they hadn't been playing well at all leading up to that. Then after that, they went 2-7 with the same quarterback and the same coach. Now, does that make sense to you? Think about that logically. They're no good prior to playing 2 top 10 teams that are hot, which is Tennessee and Clemson. Those 2 teams are in the way of Michigan. We find out a report that possibly they were reaching out. And then suddenly they scored 9 straight touchdowns. They had only scored something like 20 points in the last 2 games against Florida and Missouri, 2 teams we beat, by the way, that year. They suddenly scored 63 points and then scored about, 30 some odd points at Clemson and scored 100 points in 2 games. And then after that, won 2 games out of the next 9 and did not beat a single top 40 team during that 9-game stretch. Just saying. Oh, yeah. Beamer ball. That is Beamer ball. I don't even dislike Shane Beamer. I don't even dislike South Carolina, honestly, but I'm going to find out about that. If there's any way to find out about it, I'm going to, because there's so much circumstantial evidence on that. It's a mountain, literally a mountain, but I can't prove it directly. Not the NCAA might be able to, but I don't know. Oh, shit. Oh, I see what you're saying. Now, he's really got 3. Oh, that's funny. Let's see. Well, yeah, they did. Yeah, 2-7. Explain that to me. Somebody explain how you win 2 top 10 victories, 1 on the road, and then you go 2-7 after that. And you were crappy beforehand. But for 2 weeks, and you wore special wristbands against Tennessee that you've never worn all year. But you had these magical wristbands. Then the next year when we kicked your booty at Neyland Stadium, the place where you think you would need a wristband because how loud it is, they didn't have wristbands. Now, wouldn't you as an athlete, I can tell you as an athlete, if I had beaten a team a certain way, I would absolutely go back to the well and try to do the same thing with the wristbands, but they didn't do it the next year. It's almost like maybe they weren't sent the signs that next year, allegedly. Oh, yeah. Well, like I said, I'll tell you what, man, if a team has your signs and they know what play you're going to run and what defense you're in, you're going to get whooped. You are going to get whooped. Now, I could be wrong. It could be that we just were awful that week and Clemson was awful that week after, and then South Carolina was magically terrific for 2 weeks and then horrible afterwards and not worth a damn before. That's possible. It's not impossible. It's really not. It's extremely unlikely, but it's not impossible. Let's see. Lane's not going to South Carolina. Yeah. Of course, you're talking about nepotism. Yeah, he's not going to South Carolina. He would be. That's a sideways move for him. Old Miss to South Carolina is a sideways move. The only place he's going, given how much he's winning, is up. Or he's going to stay where he's at. I've told you, I think he's going to go to Florida. I think Billy will probably lose out this year because that schedule is a nightmare. And he might lose the team at some point during the year. Now, who knows? He might surprise me and have a good team. And they do fine. But if he's gone, the first place Florida's going to go, without question. And I've already talked to several Florida YouTubers that have inside knowledge or knowledge. And they think Lane will be the first phone call. And there'll be a lot of money thrown at him. But you've got 2 things that have to happen. Billy's got to have a losing record. And it's going to have to be worse than 6-6. If he goes 6-6, he'll probably keep his job. But then Lane's got to leave Ole Miss. And, they're going to have to come up with a lot of money. They got to come up with $26 million to buy out Billy Napier. And then you've got to come up with a bunch of money for Lane. He's not leaving. He's making $9 million a year at Ole Miss. So they would probably have to offer him 10 or 11 million, probably a 6-year deal, and it'd have to be in the neighborhood of $70 million total somewhere, because you'd have to have increases in that. So I'd say it'd take $70 million contract over 6 years to get him. And again, you've got to have several pieces fall. But I don't think he's going to stay at Ole Miss long term unless he starts losing, which I don't. I think they're going to win 10 games this year and possibly make the playoffs. They've got a very easy schedule, which is kind of shocking for an SEC team. but there's a very legitimate chance that they make the playoffs, because their first 6 games, they're going to be 6-0. Their toughest ball game, I believe, is Kentucky. And they've got 4 absolute cakewalk games. I mean, it's like Little Sisters of the Poor. Then they play the London Silly Nannies. And then they play Tusculum, which is a school in a green. I'm kidding. But Tusculum's actually got a pretty good football team. They're just, a totally different division. But that's about who they're playing. Let's see. You know what? Yeah, James Franklin. I'll tell you what, James Franklin was a heck of a ball coach at Vanderbilt. He's the only one that really had them on the map. And actually, if you've watched Bull and P over there at the Blue Chip Breakdown, P actually he played for James Franklin at Vanderbilt. And he said he's a terrific guy and a great football coach. Now, he said he's not the greatest X's and O's guy, but he's an incredible motivator, very disciplined, and he's a terrific head coach. And he said the guys would run through a wall for him. So I'm not surprised he's had success at Penn State. The problem is Ohio State and Michigan have been creaking him because he always loses those 2 games. He wins every game except Michigan and Ohio State. So he winds up going 9-3 or 10-2 every year, which is still good. Yeah, I've got them going 6-6 this year. Rustastic. That's what I actually did a video. You may have seen it. I've got them going 6-6. I think that's what they'll do. Those last 5 games are brutal. They're a nightmare. You got Georgia, Texas, LSU, Florida State, and one other incredibly different, Ole Miss. So they've got 5 top 10 teams, which is, I've never seen that. Have you ever seen a team play 5 top 10 teams before, including the number 1 and number 2 team, which is Georgia and Texas? And they're playing them back to back. And here's the thing. As hard as those first 5 are, they've also got Tennessee at Neyland, which is a nightmare. That's a nightmare. You've also got Kentucky, who's been kicking your butt 3 of the last 5 years. You've got UCF, who would kill to beat you. UCF's going to show up with blood in their eye. All right, then you got Miami, your first game, who is a huge competitor in state. I don't see it. Whoever made that schedule, they must have made it back when they had what was the guy that won the 2 national championships for them? Never can think of his dadgum name, and it wasn't Spurrier, obviously. But that must have been when they made that. I can understand the thinking of it. What they did was, their thinking was, hey, we're the Florida Gators. We're the big dog in Florida. We're going to kick the crap out of Miami, UCF, and Florida State, dominate the state, get all the recruits, because we're SEC, which will help us recruit, and we'll just kick the crap out of them, and then we've got the entire state to ourselves, which on paper back in the day when they had Urban Meyer, that's his name, that made perfect sense because that's exactly how things would have gone. It's not going to go that way with Billy Napier. I don't see him winning all 3 of those games. I think he'll win maybe 2 or 1. I think Florida State will beat him. It's at Florida State. I think they'll beat Miami or UCF or both. That's the 2 teams I think they'll win. But it's going to be tough. All right, folks, we got 7 minutes before the game. I don't want to keep y'all on here right up until the game, but I wanted to do a pre-show, and I'll probably do a post-game show too if I'm able to. I don't think I've got to go back out with my Kaiser blade and do too much more on the roadside. But if I do, I got to do what the boss man says. All right, folks, I'll see y'all hopefully after the game with a victory. That's what I assume, and I'll be wearing my victory chain with the big T and all that, hopefully. We'll see. And we'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay. Go Vols.